Malala Yousafzai was only 15 years old when she was shot by the Taliban for her work, advocating for equal access to education for girls in Pakistan. Who was behind this courageous young woman? Well, a courageous father who spends his time fighting for equal education too. And that man joins us now. Ziauddin Yousafzai, who is chair of the Malala Fund and the father of Malala Yousafzai. And it's a pleasure to meet you and have you here at TVO.
Thank you very much.
Well, unlike many men in Pakistan, you apparently are in favor of education for girls. How come?
Right from the very beginning, in the society where I grew up, so I myself experienced different discriminations for different reasons. And I had 5 sisters and none of them could go to school. So I was very sensitive to human rights, to the injustices which are inflicted on girls especially. So right from the very beginning, long before my daughter was born, I decided and I had a determination that I will give my time in my life. I will struggle and strive for the rights of girls, for their education. And my daughter is one of the millions of daughters in Pakistan. So this was my dream, not only for my daughter, but this was a dream, and this is a dream for the daughters of the whole country.
Let me ask about another daughter of Pakistan, your wife. Does she read?
No, she can a little bit read and write her mother tongue, but she could not have a formal schooling because her father, I think, once admitted her in a school for few days, and for a few weeks she went to school. But you see, it was not a serious thing for girls in her time when she was a child. And she tells her story, and it's very much interesting that after a few days, she got tired of school because she was probably the only girl in the class, and the rest of her, cousins, they used to play while she was in school. So she sold her books.
Okay.
And she bought some candies. And that was the end of her schooling. And nobody asked her that where were her books and where was her schooling.
Right.
So she was ignored. As my sisters were ignored by my father, so she was ignored by her father. So it happened not only to my wife, it happened to thousands of girls.
Well, here's what I'm getting
in
at.
the last generation, in our generation.
You've done so much, and you and your daughter, to bring education to girls. How come not your wife?
Sure, my wife was getting, when she got married to me, education is a very important thing, and that's why we always say that it could be achieved at a particular time of your life. It starts from the very cradle. We take a child to school when she or he is 3 years old, 4 years old. So when we married, she was 25. And at that age, I tried my best. She used to go to my school also to get some basics from the teachers of the school. But it doesn't work when it's too late. That's why educationists always tell that we should be very much conscious about the schooling of the children, like the refugees in different countries, that if they lose some years of their education, then it is very hard to restore it. So it happened like this. So, I could not help it much. And then we had children. But
let me ask about those. You've got 3 children.
Exactly.
Malala is your oldest, but you have 2 sons as well.
Yes. Sure.
Can I take you back a decade and a half to the day Malala was born, your firstborn?
Yeah.
What did you think when your firstborn was a girl?
My firstborn was my daughter who was stillborn, and she was my second daughter.
Ah, okay.
And believe me, she born at the dawn time. Very early in the morning. And when I was told that you have a daughter, and when I went, and she was laying beside her mother, and when I looked into her eyes, although I don't like newborn children, babies, to be honest, but she was the first child when I looked into her eyes, I fell in love with her, I can say, and I felt honored that I'm the father of a daughter. And since that day, we are friends, we are companions, and we are the comrades of the same cause.
I have heard, though, that in the Pashtun culture, the birth of a daughter is often seen as a gloomy day. Have you heard that?
I can say that, it's changing now, and daughters are valued with the passage of time. And I can tell you that after my daughter's campaign for education and her coming up to the global platform for the rights of girls, now people are naming their children after her. So it's a big change. But yes, at least when I was a child, a daughter's birth has never been celebrated. She is not welcomed. And I usually say that when the first daughter is born, a mother is sad. And when the second daughter is born, usually in the expectation of a son, she is shocked. And when the third born, if it is followed by a third daughter, then she feels as she has committed a crime. Oh. She feels guilty. So this goes on. But I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic that things are changing very rapidly. And now, fathers, not only in Pakistan, but in Afghanistan, in the neighboring countries, they are giving importance and they are valuing their daughters, although they are still not at par with sons, but somehow they feel good now.
The Swat Valley in Pakistan is well known to many people in this world, unfortunately for bad reasons most of the time. But you started a private girls' school in Swat Valley, Pakistan, and I want to know why.
This was not the first school in Swat. I should clear the record. I mean, there were girls' school, government schools, and there were private schools as well. But when I started a school in Swat Valley, I started it for boys and girls together. And later on, we had campuses for girls and for boys. But the difference I made was not to have a girls' school. It was actually how to run it. It was the vision behind it. I used the institution of education. I used my school for the emancipation of the girls. You see, in schools, we teach to learn, but I also taught to unlearn some of the norms and taboos and social restrictions. And I tried to make the girls bold, confident that they should not be obedient when it comes to their basic rights. They should be respectful, but they should not, they should not yield to every wrong decision of their elders and parents. And they should raise their voice when it comes to their basic rights. And it worked.
The New York Times followed your family for a while and made a documentary about them. And I'd like to show a little clip of that, and then we'll come back and chat, okay?
Thank you.
Roll tape, please.
At one of the remaining schools, a student who is veiled to protect her identity speaks out.
The title of my speech is The Situation in Swat Valley. The paradise on earth is in the northwest of Pakistan. Swat Valley, the land of waterfalls, lush green hills and other gifts bestowed upon it by the nature. But my dear friends, today, Swat has in the past few years become a heartland for Pakistan's Islamic militancy. Today, this idyllic valley of peace is burning. Why the peace of this valley is destroyed? Why we the peace and innocent people of the valley are targeted? Why our future is targeted? Schools are not places of learning, but places of fear and violence. We will solve our problems. We will return our valley to peace. I think nobody, no one, our dreams are shattered. And let me say we are destroyed. Swat Valley! Zindabad! Swat Valley! Zindabad! Swat
At a special assembly, the students rally for their education.
Swat Valley! Zindabad!
Can you talk some more about how life in Swat Valley changed after the Taliban arrived in 2007?
Sure, it was, I think, I will pray that God may protect people from such kind of situation. It was a very bad situation. To be short, I can say that we were deprived from our basic rights. And the core agenda of Talibanization were girls education, and women's freedom. And you see, hundreds of schools were bombed. Girls were banned to be going to school. Women were forced to wear veil, and they were stopped to be going to markets. And singers were silenced. Some singers were killed. Girls were flogged. So you can see, and men, notables, policemen, they were slaughtered and hanged upside down. So it was, it was a situation which, if one sees it in dreams, it's a nightmare. It was a nightmarish situation. It was a nightmarish situation, and that was the reason that we had to raise our voice, because it's very difficult to live in slavery, to live in subjugation for lifelong. And when one raises one's voice, it works.
You know, of course, Canada has had troops in Afghanistan for 12 years, just left. The last troops just left. And there are a lot of people, I think, asking the question whether or not the gains that have been made in Afghanistan, right beside Pakistan, will be lost because our troops have left. What do you think?
This is a very difficult question, but what I wish and what I want to say, that yes, this is not the long-term solution, because Afghanistan belongs to the people of Afghanistan. And the question is that the international community should build the Afghanistan capacity to defend itself by itself. And while the troops are going out of Afghanistan, the humanitarian support of the global community must be continued. Because in past, we have seen that when the vested interests of the global powers have, they have achieved, Afghanistan has been left all alone. And that's why then there is a problem. And we say that Afghanistan is the heart of Asia. If it is in trouble, you can't find peace in the region.
But
so that's very important.
If the Western troops have now all left or are leaving, do you think the Taliban can be defeated?
Again, I'll say that the important thing is the capacity of the Afghan army. The global community must ensure that when they leave Afghanistan, there should be a satisfaction that the people of Afghanistan, they can protect themselves. Because to be very honest, it will be a great tragedy if Afghanistan goes back to Talibanization, because the years when it was ruled by Taliban, those were the dark days of Afghanistan. Women education was prohibited, forbidden, and schools were closed, and cultural assets and like the statues of Bamiyan, they were bombed. So, it will be very difficult for the people of Afghanistan. Let them live in peace. Let them have a rest after long, long wars. Because generations have suffered, and millions have been killed and disabled. So the world must be there. And it is very unjust that that region has always been in difficulties and in conflict. And once, the strategic interests, the strategic interests of the regional powers and the global powers is gone, the people of Afghanistan, again, they are in trouble. So it should not happen again.
I would like to, control room, just follow along here. I want to go to page 4 and show another clip from the documentary because I want to talk about your daughter again and talk about her future. So here's another clip from that New York Times documentary. Roll tape, please.
I want to become a doctor. It's my own dream, but my father told me that you have to become a politician. But I don't like politics, and
But I see a great potential in my daughter that she can do more than a doctor. She can create a society where a medical student would be easily able to get her doctorate degree.
That's 5 years ago already, isn't it?
Yes, and last year 14 medical students were killed in Quetta. And so that's what I said. I'm very right that politics are very important.
Has she changed her mind about wanting to be in politics?
No, she is more determined for change because she thinks that it's better to be a doctor because you serve your people. But she thinks, and she tells, always tells that being a doctor, you can support a community, a hospital. But when you are a politician, you are the doctor of the whole country.
So she'd like to be Prime Minister of Pakistan someday.
If people vote her, I can't say about it at this stage. I wish her, as a father, I wish her to be safe and to have her educational career. I don't have those dreams, which she has. Okay, to be honest, I mean, it's her dream, and I wish her good luck.
How much of her dreams do you think exist in her imagination because of the encouragement of her father?
Yes, of course. You see, I not only encouraged her, but all the girl students of my school. What I did, I inculcated in their minds the courage, the confidence, and this is what I did, that you can do everything. You can be the prime minister, you can be the president, you can be the pilot, you can be an engineer. So I think that inspiration is there in the girls of Pakistan. And we have wonderful and amazing ladies, pilots, engineers, and in every field of life. So she has now very big dreams for her future. And she has many, many well-wishers all around the world. So see.
She's probably the most famous 15-year-old girl in the world today, isn't she?
Yeah.
The most heroic to so many school students.
Yes, and I think not only the most famous, but I can say the most loved. The most loved, because people love me because of her. When I meet people, they just, I have come across many people when they know that I am Malala's father. And you see, in the beginning, till 2010, when she was not very famous in Pakistan, she was my daughter, but now I'm her father. So when people know that I'm her father, they hold my hands and they cry even on seeing me that I'm her father. So the love which I see for her in people, it's incredible.
Now, mind you, you live in England now, right?
Yeah,
you live in Birmingham, England now.
Yeah.
How do they feel about her back in Pakistan?
You see, people in Pakistan, they love her. They love her. And the testimony and the witness to it is when she was attacked, people raised the banners, Shame on Taliban, I am Malala. So, and it happened without, I mean, without any, and it happened indifferent to class, creed, or faith. Everybody did that, and they showed their solidarity with this small girl and her cause. And even today, I receive many, many calls, good wishes from Pakistan, especially from children. And as I told you earlier, many girls have been named after her. So it's a big change.
Does the name mean something, Malala?
Malala, actually, I thought about this name long before she was born. And I thought that if I have a daughter, I will name her this, because a name, it is in the history of Afghanistan, Malala of Mewand, who was a heroic, legendary freedom fighter. in Afghanistan. And I thought that if I have a daughter, I will name her after her. And when she was born, so I did that. But I thought that Malala of Maiwand was freedom fighter with sword. And this Malala will be a freedom fighter with pin. And you will astonish that a few days after she was born, my cousin came to our home and he brought a family tree. And when I looked at the family tree, it traced back to 300 years back to our ancestors. And when I looked at it, so there were many, many names, but all were men. And I picked my pen, drew a line from my name, and wrote Malala. So that was, after her birth, that was the second time that, my message through this to all fathers in patriarchal societies, that it's just acceptance. When we accept our daughters and as an individual, like sons, they're amazing, let them live their life and let them be as they are. And we should not, men always controlled. They love to control, their daughters and sisters and wives. This control policy or this control mindset should be changed. And we should discipline ourselves, not control others. If men discipline themselves rather than controlling women, there will be a big change.
Ziauddin, I'm leery about asking you this, but I think people watching this want to know. A year and a half ago, when she was shot, what do you remember about that day? How you got the news, for example?
You see, I was a 24 hours activist in Pakistan. I was involved in many, many peace campaigns and human rights activities. So the very time when she was attacked, I was in press club of Swat, and I was about to give a speech to the teachers of Swat about some rights of the teachers and of the schools. And a friend came to me and he told me that your school van has been fired. And when this news came to me, my heart sank. And I thought that what would have been done, because we were told some months before that she may be at risk. So then I rushed to the hospital, and it was a doomsday. The world turned into a big black hole. And it was a very hard day, very, very hard day. And when I reached to the hospital and I looked to her face, so the bullet entered there and it went back and embedded in her shoulder. It cut down her narrow facial marrow, and also her hearing was gone because of the shot. So when I looked at her face, she gave me a response which I can't explain, but she did give me a response. And meanwhile, she was on the verge of life and death. I asked my wife that, because it's natural when something happens, you think of yourself that, have I done something wrong? And I asked my wife that, should I be blamed for what happened to my daughter? And she told me, no, never think so. Don't blame yourself. You stood for the right cause, for the truth and peace and education, and you put your life at stake since long, and your daughter got inspired and joined you. You both are on the right path, and believe me, God will protect her. These few words meant a lot to me, and I didn't ask this question again.
Ziauddin, do you ever hope to return to Swat Valley in Pakistan with your daughter?
Yes, I'm not only hoping, I'm determined to go back to my country.
When do you think it will be
Because
possible?
that is the country where I lived since centuries. My forefathers lived there. And I must go back. And a day will come that we will go back. Even a few weeks before I wish to go back, I contacted the government authorities. But in these days, we have, problems in Pakistan. So, and also my daughter is getting some treatment for physiotherapy. Mm-hmm. So once that is ended, and a stage will come that we will go back.
Is it safe enough to go back?
This is a difficult question because as a father, I will not put her life at stake. But you see, things will change. We will not always be in conflicts, and we will always not be suffering from the militancy and terrorism. The people of Pakistan are working hard. The political parties and the civil society, they are determined to have peace on our land through dialogue, and somehow, so a day will come that we will have peace. And I'm not here I'm working even if I'm UK, but my heart is in Pakistan. And I struggle and I strive my best to restore peace to my country. So we will achieve it and we will go back.
Ziauddin Yousafzai, he is the chair of the Malala Fund, the father of the most famous 15-year-old in the world, and maybe the most beloved as well. Malala Yousafzai, thank you so much, and please enjoy your time here in Canada.
Thank you very much.
Support Ontario's public television. Donate at tvo.org.